What is up, guys? This is the Dad's Life Podcast, episode Not So Lucky 13. I am your host, Sean Flag 2.0. Welcome to the show. In today's episode, we are going to talk about my experience or our experience with CBD oil and our ADHD teenager. But before we get into the episode, I would like to say I do apologize for the delay in the recording. Dad life kicked in, so the kids are sick. The family got sick this past week, so we've all been trying to fight off sickness. And then Monday nights when I normally record, the kids got really bad. So by the time we got them down, I was dead tired. So I do apologize. And thank you for you guys' patience, but hopefully you guys understand because you guys have kids as well. So let's get right into the episode. I don't want to go into too much of like the diagnosis part. If you would like me to share my experience with that, let me know down in comments. Hit me on Twitter. I'll basically let you guys know how to hit me at the end of the episode. So just real quick, CBD oil is a hemp derived, basically like an essential oil. We did some research on it, and we got some, obviously our research was, through personal, personal experiences that we know people that use it for their different ailments. And then of course, YouTube videos, going online. Let's see, CBD oil is also not like FDA approved or anything like that. So obviously they can't specifically say it helps prevent cancer or anything like that. So basically you kind of just take it, with a grain of salt about what it does. Kind of like if you're into essential oils, it can't say it helps with anxiety or is proven to help with anxiety because I guess technically through the FDA, there isn't any clinical trials that prove it or whatever the case is. So just kind of want to lead off with that. If you are interested more about CBD oil, I do suggest you go and do your own research with it. Again, we mainly went off somebody's personal experience with it and basically what we read on the internet, and we decided to give it a try. So that's basically our background with CBD oil. As far as my son goes, I do have a 14-year-old. He was diagnosed with ADHD when he was in the 4th grade, and he's been on Adderall ever since then. And so basically it's been like 4 years now, 3 to 4 years now he's been on this medication. At first, I was very against the medication. I didn't want to acknowledge the fact that he was ADHD. I'm from the old school. He acts up, man. You put the belt to his ass. But once we kind of figured out that wasn't working and that behavior was still going on, we eventually did get him tested. He came back with, slight ADHD. And for those of you who don't know, I live in California. We have Kaiser. And I was really impressed with Kaiser and how they diagnose and how they treat ADHD. So anyway, we had been with them. And again, if you want me to share that experience with the healthcare provider and all that stuff and how the diagnosis went and all this stuff, let me know in like comments or whatever, or get in contact with me, and I'll do a separate episode on that particular situation. So anyway, we decided we want to try CBD oil. Now again, CBD oil, you could get it from many different places. I will not disclose where we had got ours from, as not to discredit anybody, but to share my experience or our experience. I keep saying mine, but it's me and my wife's experience with the CBD oil and our son. So right now he's on Adderall, and there's two types of ADHD meds. Like one's a upper, one's a downer. And we didn't want him to be on the Adderall for as long as he is, or for a long period of time going into adulthood and things like that. We don't want him to be reliant on the Adderall. So we've been having different issues and difficulties dealing with him and having, help him control his ADHD without the meds. But right now, he needed something to help him to get through school. that's why he was on the Adderall, or he is currently on the Adderall now. So obviously that kind of precludes, or that kind of gives you that ominous, like, well, what was the experience with CBD oil? Now, as I would like to proceed, what I say is I am not a practitioner of medicine or anything like that, and nor am I giving advice to anybody, yay or nay, for CBD oil, or what type of treatments you guys want to use for your kids. Each kid is different. Each situation is different. So again, I want to proceed as this is just sharing my experience with you guys, and also documenting something for my son to take a look back at and listen to, like how we kind of went through this process of trying to get the correct help with the control of the ADHD. Now, obviously, as we all know, all medications, yes, they do help, but then, of course, there's a side effect. And the long-term side effect I wanted to avoid with my son is like liver damage. I don't want the liver to have to constantly filter through medications and things like that. Like, I would rather us find more of a homeopathic solution. So when we had heard first about CBD oil from, one of my friends, I was talking to her, and then I ran the ideas by my wife, and then the wife kind of did her own research, and she knew somebody that's doing CBD oil for other issues as well, and found that it helped in their situation. So we're like, okay, let's try CBD oil. We did more research on it and found a reputable company, or we thought was reputable, to get the oils through. So we ended up ordering it online through, again, a reputable company. And it came in two different versions of like THC and then THC free. And there are a couple things to note on their website of, how to deal with the CBD oil. So anyway, we got it. And we took him off his Adderall and put him on the CBD oil over the weekend, so like a Saturday. So we started the CBD oil with a Saturday. And then we decided that, we're gonna let it go a month, because you figure a good month long is going to determine if the CBD oil worked or not. So let's just say, we actually had him on it for 3 weeks, and the experience with him on it was negative. It was terrible. And this is when I earlier stated that there are two types of medication for Adderall. Now, what we ended up doing, we ended up making the switch without talking to our doctor, because, we have an institutionalized doctor that's probably, or, in our opinion, is not going to support us trying a homeopathic solution to his ADHD. So we did not talk to his doctor about it, and we made the decision to do it and kind of reap the consequences, either negative or positive. We just decided, what's the harm in changing his ADHD meds. So I say things were negative, and I want to say that with a grain of salt. Like, go ahead and take that statement with a grain of salt, because there were some positives that it did help him with, and then of course there were some negatives as well. So totally, again, we started on the weekend. He took it twice a day, mornings and after he came home from school. And we told him, this is what we're doing. We're changing out some medications and trying to see if this is going to work. And this is why, we don't want you reliant on Adderall. We don't want you to, and if Adderall, it's basically like 1 or 2 molecules away from being methamphetamine, or, meth. And that was another reason I didn't want him to be reliant on it. And so we're exploring other things. So we had him on it for a total of 3 weeks. And, basically his grades tanked. He didn't have as much control at school as he did. We did have an incident happen that kind of rocked the whole family while he was on it, because he decided he wanted to tell some lies and be really impulsive and over dramatic about how he was running his mouth. As I said, his grades tanked. He went from A's, B's, and C's to C's, D's, and F's. We weren't getting any behavioral things per se. Like no teachers were emailing us, but his impulsiveness did bring about an incident that was very serious. And it was more attention getting than it was actual truthful. And like I said, it was pretty bad. So that was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. We were getting more attitude in the morning time and afternoon time. We're not getting the reaction that we thought we would get. And we knew that there were going to be some challenges. We knew that it wasn't the chemical induced, reaction that he would norm. So he would be completely different under using CBD. And we kind of wanted to give it, a month. And we gave it a good 3 weeks. And it just didn't work out for us. Now, those are all the negatives. There were some positives. He did sleep more at night. So we actually woke up with more sleep, and he woke up, he was able to get to sleep faster. Adderall is generally an upper in our experiences. We have to also give him melatonin at night to help him sleep when he's on the Adderall, because it is like meth, so it keeps you up. So we had to give him melatonin to help him sleep, but with the CBD oil, he slept. Also, a side effect of Adderall, or a potential side effect, is you lose your appetite. So while he was on the CBD oil, he did gain 5 pounds. He went from 117 to 122. So he's like a lanky 14-year-old. But he got his appetite back, which we liked. He did gain the weight, but 122 pounds and him eating more and wanting to eat more. It was just a regular teenage appetite, and that's something that is healthy. And so if he doesn't feel the need to eat, he doesn't eat as much, so he's underweight. Is he underweight for what the doctor says? No, because of his height. They say he's like right on target, but he definitely looks skinny. So those were some of the positives. Like, he got his appetite back. He was able to sleep better without the melatonin. So that was good, obviously, because he wasn't on the Adderall, which kept him up. So those were the for sure, like, positives from CBD oil. And then, of course, the negatives were, he didn't have that chemically induced control he had, or filter with his mouth. Now, the double-edged sword about CBD oil and coming off the Adderall is he got more in tune with his emotions. You saw more of his personality compared to, what his personality is on Adderall. And he himself has also stated he feels a difference. Now, for school, he thinks that the Adderall obviously helped him because he stayed focused. But he had this nonchalant, I really don't think anything's a big deal kind of mentality while he's on it. While on the CBD oil, he was more in touch with his emotions. So he was more emotional and he was more over the top than normal. So, but it was more, that's his attitude. That's more of him and who he is. So being on Adderall for so long, and of course going through puberty and all these things, he didn't really know what to do with these emotions. And so with his grades tanking and basically taking away all of his activities, he kind of saw how sucky it was to sit in his room. And he got really angry with that. He got really angry with his situation. And he was ready to kind of throw it all away. Now, my situation is unique. We are a blended family. My oldest son is not with my wife. If I haven't told you that before, my oldest son is not with my wife. It's with somebody else. And he doesn't see his mom at all. So when he was using the CBD oil, when, he was on the CBD oil for the ADHD, he was like, it sucks here so bad, I'd rather go live with my mom. And that situation's not the best, and I'm not going to go into major details with that. Again, everybody's situation is unique. But he kind of was like, instead of having to deal with my issues and fix things and put an effort to control this or whatever, I'd rather just run from it. And I couldn't allow him to do that. But he did get more in tune, and you saw more of his personality and his attitude when he was on the CBD oil. But he came to realize that his situation, according to his standard and what he wanted to do, he didn't get to do what he wanted to do. Instead of trying to fix it and work his way out of a hole, he decided that, or he made a choice that he wanted to go live with his mom and just completely leave the house. So the way we dealt with that was, talked to him, had long conversations about it, made him come to the realization that that is not the best place for him, which it isn't. At this time, it isn't. And he even stated that he didn't want to beforehand. But I guess him being in more touch with his situation as it was, it made him angry, more angry. And the impulse, the lack of impulse control, that was the first thing he wanted to do, was basically take the easiest route. Instead of trying to fix his situation, he'd rather run from it. So that's like a double-edged sword as far as the CBD goes. I do like seeing him more of himself, but what he was experiencing at the time, he just didn't like. So it made him overly emotional. So he got angry, and he was, I'd rather go move somewhere else than deal with these problems. And so yeah, that, again, double-edged sword with that particular experience with the CBD oil. If I was to rate the CBD oil, it is something that I would like for him to be able to go back to as he gets older. Right now, it's not the best thing for him. And again, I'm not giving advice to anybody or any treatment advice. I'm just sharing my opinion. I feel that if he was in a more positive situation, like his grades were together and he had more of a better lifestyle, I use air quotations. Excuse me, I'm still getting over this sickness. I use air quotations when I say better quality of life, because he really doesn't understand how good he has it here. And if you're listening, hopefully by the time you listen to this, you would have came to that realization, boy. But, and I call my son boy all the time. He's the boy. So if I say, oh, the boy, that's who I'm referencing is my 14-year-old. But I would like him to go back to that. But right now, he doesn't have the impulse control. He wants to deny the fact that he has ADHD, and he doesn't want to seek help for it. But with the CBD oil, it showed him and it proved to him that he did have an issue and he was going to need assistance with it. So there goes a double-edged lesson. Like, he failed miserably while he was on it, and he swore up and down he didn't have an issue. But now, he's come to a little bit of a realization, like, I need help. If I want the ADHD or not, and if I hadn't said this before, he denies his ADHD diagnosis because he doesn't want to have it. And I have to try to explain to him that just because you don't want to have it doesn't mean you don't. And we have to work through this for you to control it, so we could just move on and, do more positive things. And so yeah, when it came to the whole CBD oil, I would like him to go back to it. Right now, it's not the best time because he is very impulsive. He doesn't have any control. But he himself has said that he could tell when he's on the meds and when he's not. And I noticed him a little bit more passionate, a little bit more free being on the CBD oil. I would love to see more of that. But what he's going through right now as far as school and transitioning from middle school to high school, he needs more control than he needs, like, the freedom right now. Again, just until he could, number one, own the fact that he has ADHD, and then seek help. Or, like I said, take our advice. I'm doing the best I can to help him. But if he doesn't feel he needs help, then he won't, accept it, and then he fails. And right now it's about school. Right now it's about social environments. It's about stuff like that. And I'd rather have him be more focused in school and getting through that and us working through that than, him being a little bit more free or, whatever. And I don't want to say free because then I'm insinuating that he's not free when he's under the Adderall. But again, right now the focus is school. The focus is getting him through. And so we took him off of the CBD and then we put him back on his Adderall. So with that, with him being back on his Adderall, his grades have came up. He has a D now, but that's his lowest grade compared to an F. And he brought all the other grades back up. And this is within a week. And of course, not only is it within a week, but it's also in a week when he's accepting help. Like I'm helping him get through his stuff and keep his stuff organized. When he was on the CBD oil, he didn't want it. And every time I tried to tell him something, it was like he didn't want to listen. And, he just felt, I got it. And he didn't. And I hope, and again, boy, if you are listening, that you were able to take that experience and learn something from it. And, know that we may be annoying in your eyes, but we're doing what we can do to help you be successful and just be involved and know what's going on with you. And that when you get older, you could look back and you could, maybe you don't remember you going through this, but you could listen to this episode on the podcast and be like, hey, my parents, even though they were annoying as heck, they did what they could. They tried to help me. They wanted me to succeed. And that's what it's really all about. We want you to succeed, but without the Adderall dependency. Let's see. It's late, I know. And again, I thank you for everybody's patience as I'm recording this. And I try to do everything live. Because number one, I don't have time to edit because we're all parents and we don't have enough time or hours in the day to do everything we want. So everything gets done live. Let's see here. So just like in closing, in summary, conclusion, whatever you want to call it, because we're getting short on time here, is we had a positive and negative experience with CBD. Again, the positives were the fact that it didn't make him restless at night. He got more sleep. He got like 9 good hours of sleep at night compared to the 6 he was getting with the Adderall. We didn't have to give him the melatonin and his appetite came back. I also love the fact that I saw more of his personality, more passion when he was talking about stuff, more excitement when he was talking about stuff, and things affected him more. But then the double-edged side with that, the fact that he wasn't having all the freedom he wanted made him highly agitated and angry and over the top with those emotions. So I'd have to say, to me, that was a double-edged sword on that particular experience with it. And then, so let's see here. I did talk about positives, the double-edged sword. And then, of course, the negatives, the fact that he didn't have the control. He thought he could do it. He didn't want the help. And, we kind of let him fly for like less than a week. And everything tanked from there. So it did not help as far as keep him focused or anything like that. We eventually did email his doctor, and his doctor said, exactly what we said. There is no clinical thing, studies that prove that CBD oil will help ADHD, and they may potentially make them worse, which they did, as far as what we needed that medication for, which was getting him through school. So, again, sharing my experience. And you read online, there's testimonials about how people use it to help with the ADHD. And I really think that they may be on that other medication, which I believe the other medication is a downer. And hemp coming from the marijuana plant, maybe if, your child, or if you have ADHD yourself and you're taking that, and I don't know what it's called, the other medication, maybe you could use CBD oil because the CBD oil, even though it doesn't have the THC in it, there are, and again, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm just, deductive reasoning, giving educated guesses, because there are so many testimonials that say, CBD oil works and has worked for their children. That's just not our testimonial. We definitely like the fact that it is homeopathic. We definitely like the fact because, we're into essential oils and we'll swear by those. Um, you know, just so you know, we're not anti-vaxxers or anything like that. Like, we have all the kids vaccinated as well, and we take all the precautions. But anything extra layer of protection we could do to, like, protect our family from sickness and things like that. And obviously, this flu season, we dropped the ball on it. But anyway, so we would like to try CBD oil again. And again, maybe in a different point in my son's life when he's a little bit older and has a little bit more control, a sense of responsibility, and then kind of give him a little bit more freedom as far as, again, the Adderall or the CBD oil. I felt he was a little bit more passionate. So yeah, just, maybe we go back to it when it's a better time for us, but right now, and then it'll also give us more time to, because CBD oil, the brand that we got was very expensive. And, again, we got it based upon two, personal reviews that, where they're like, just try this. And we're like, okay, it works for you guys, so we'll go with it. But it was expensive. So, it's not, his Adderall medication is not even a quarter of the price of the CBD oil. So if we wanted to go CBD oil, we'd definitely be coming out the pocket. But it's worth it. If it's, the main thing what we want is we just didn't want the adverse effects, long-term effects of him being on a controlled substance, and that was the main thing there. We still wanted him to have his control, but we didn't want him to, get liver damage later on down the road. Now, it's like one of those things where you have to decide what's important, and we obviously felt it important enough to try it. And unfortunately, right now, at this time, it's not what we're going to go with. So eventually, we did go back on the Adderall, and then he basically told us, like 3 days in, he felt different. And he felt that the Adderall was helping him focus, and he could feel it. And, like I said, to me, what I saw was he was more passionate without it. I would love to see the passion. I'd love to see my son thrive to his full potential that way than, have to, put on this fake facade. Anyway, obviously I went over on time about 5 minutes because I generally don't like having super long episodes. Again, this could be a two-parter if you guys wanted me to talk about the diagnosis part of, and what we kind of went through and things, all the research we did, because I am personally against the medication, and that's why we kind of, also another reason why we want to go CBD oil is, so there's a whole nother process behind getting him tested and differences between 504s and IEPs, and I definitely would love to share my experience with anybody that would be interested in that. So let's just go ahead and take care of business. Again, thank you guys for watching. Listening. This was episode 13 of the Dad's Life podcast, and we're going to title it CBD oil and my 14-year-old son, or ADHD. So anyway, I'll figure out what a title is for it. Again, if you got any questions, comments, or emotional outbursts, hit me up on Twitter. That's the best way to get me. That's at Sean Flack. If you are on Facebook, you can find Sean Flack 2.0, where you'll find the Dad's Life podcast group. You can send me a private message through that. You could hit me through the group. You could check me out at again, Sean Flack, at Sean Flack on Twitter. And also, last but not least, you can head over to the SeanFlack.com, where you'll have a link to this show, the 2 other projects I'm working on, or let me say 3 other projects, because that is the Sean Flack blog. There'll be links to this show, Practical Pivot, which is a show that I do with my friend Mike T, where 2 average guys talk about making simple changes in their life to better ourselves. And then, of course, the Sean Flack 2.0 YouTube page, which that channel right now is suffering big time just because, dad life is kicking in. Anyway, thank you for listening. Share, leave comments. Again, whatever you guys want to hear about when it comes to parenting. If you guys want to talk about it, shoot me a topic you'd like me to talk about. Hit me up on Twitter. It's always good to know that I'm not just talking out in the void. And until the next episode, be cool, be the best parent you can be. Understand there's no perfect parent, but everybody that is involved with their kids, this is super valuable. Dad, mom, auntie, grandma. If you're out there trying to rear these kids, you're out here trying to have their best interests in mind, thank you. All right, Sean Flack 2.0, episode 13 of the Dad's Life podcast, signing off. Peace.